Patricia Pixler is a senior at Northwestern Oklahoma State University, and all the way from California, then Oklahoma. But Patricia had an experience last year that she wants to talk about today with the Brad Henry Scholarship, and I'm going to turn it over to Patricia.
Hi, I'm kind of nervous, so forgive me for that. So, last fall I had the opportunity to study abroad in Wales, so John had asked me to talk about that and the scholarship I had received that allowed me to study in Wales. So first, a little introduction to me, also known as who is this girl and why is she talking? My name is Patricia Pixler, as John explained. I am a non-traditional student currently entering her senior year at Northwestern. I grew up in Central California. Have any of you been to Yosemite National Park? I grew up about 2 hours away from there, more or less. I've lived in Oklahoma for about 5 years now. I was here for roughly a year before I started over at Northwestern. Currently, I'm an intern with the Northwestern Alumni Foundation. And in the fall, last fall, I had the opportunity to study in Swansea, Wales, thanks to the Brad Henry Scholarship. And I was one of 5 chosen in the entire state of Oklahoma. And it's a specific Oklahoma scholarship, which is why you will see. Okay. So, a brief overview of the Brad Henry Scholarship. It was established in 2008 when Brad Henry was still governor, and he wanted to foster relations between the world at large and Oklahoma. He wanted to have Oklahoma students to have a larger perspective than they usually get. And it is a full scholarship. It covers all of your tuition, all of your living expenses, and it also includes a stipend that covers the cost of the flight over to the UK. So I was really fortunate to get it. It was roughly $10,000 altogether. So the qualifications are very standard. It's a transcript, it's a resume, 2 letters of recommendation, and an essay of why you deserve the scholarship. Now, why was I chosen? I don't exactly know. I was too nervous to ask because I didn't want them to take it away from me. But I had really good letters of recommendation. I can't go forward without saying that I had excellent. One of them was actually Mrs. Allen, John Allen's husband, my wife. So, why? On paper, I look fantastic. I started college at 25, never had taken a class before then, just jumped right in. I have a 4.0 GPA right now. I am a double major in English and psychology. I'll have both a bachelor's of science and a bachelor's of arts when I'm done. I'm still doing it in 4 years, even going to think. That's because I take a lot of classes at once because I'm a little insane. But I don't mind. I volunteer for the school newspaper. I'm part of a few clubs, a few honor societies, and I'm the president of the Writers Club at university. I also think, this is just my opinion, but I do hold that it is true, that I am someone Brad Henry would have wanted to give the scholarship from. I'm a first generation student. I come from a lower middle class family. We've always been more paycheck to paycheck than I think my parents wanted in their life. I grew up in a mostly rural community. I may have grown up in California, but it was agriculture, just like here in Alva. I'm also someone who never had gone outside the US. I had to get my passport just to go on this trip. And I've never been able to study abroad without this scholarship, and I think all that together, there was a lot of the values Brad Henry would have wanted for the scholarship recipient. So traveling was fairly difficult. This trip was the first time I'd ever been on an airplane, ever. It was a very go big or go home. So my dad dropped me off in OKC, and that was it, all alone. Navigate airports, navigate TSA, all of that. I had a Leatherman with me. I forgot to take off, so $15 gone at the airport. I had to mail that back to my parents. Mistake, never do that. Always look at your keychain. But it was a good learning lesson. I had a commuter flight to Chicago, and I chatted to the businessman next to me the entire time, so I was so nervous. He was like, oh, you'll be perfectly fine. I do this every week. Well, this isn't an every week thing for me. But I landed in Heathrow without a problem. It was raining, and I had to laugh because everyone knows that cliche of London, it rains a lot. It does. But they have vending machines there that offer you SIM cards for your cell phone. So I was like, I got that, I'm ready to go. The SIM card didn't work in my cell phone. So I went down to the bus station, because the bus station is part of the airport there, because the airport's so huge. I missed my initial bus, because the timing for the flight, I did not make it. So I had to deal with getting that changed. Thankfully, I bought the insurance to let me change that. Always buy the insurance. So I waited, and then I got onto the bus that would hopefully deliver me to Swansea. I had no cell phone, I had no Wi-Fi on the bus, and it was about, I think, a 3 or 4 hour trip. The bus driver stopped halfway through, and I was really confused. He timed out, so it was time to switch drivers. I didn't know. I had to find someone on the bus who could understand me because I was so nervous. Go, why did we stop? And they're like, oh, it's normal, don't worry. I'm like, we're still going to Swansea, right? Oh yeah, don't worry. But that was the time. But Swansea is incredible. So I arrived Thursday. Classes would start that Monday. So I had a whole weekend. I figured weekend is plenty of time to figure out what to do, where to go. And they set you up in a hotel-like dorm. It's the outside accommodation for the university. So if you have conferences at the university, this is where they put the public. And one of the things that I noticed was it took 5 electronic doors to get into my apartment. They give you a little key, and each time to get into the building, to get into the elevator, to get into a section of your floor, to get into your room. They take security very seriously. So I got in my room, let my parents know I was okay, and then I passed out for about 20 hours. Now it was a 13-hour flight over, I think, so I was awake. And I was terrified to leave the room because it hit me. I'm in a foreign country. I am all alone. I am 25 years old and I'm being surrounded by 18-year-olds who are going to party it up. I don't know what I was doing to myself. But I ended up forcing myself out, and I found Swansea, and it was fantastic. The campus is fairly large, and it's older campus. There are stables and abbey on the building that are still from the Victorian times. They use them for administration. And then there's modern buildings. They were renovating while I was there, redoing their theater. I walked around the campus, I found a bridge, and I crossed the bridge, and I found myself at the ocean. It was literally just across the bridge. And then I also found Americans. These are 3 students who were with me, who are studying abroad. The one on the left is actually another recipient of the Brad Henry Scholarship from Rogers State University. The one is in the middle, Jack, is from the University of Denver, and then Oman at the end is from the University of Wyoming. So we were all fairly Western, Midwestern students who were just wandering around going, wow, we're in Britain, this is great. So these are some of the scenes from Swansea. The top corner with the buses is actually the front of the university. That is the student center. On the top floor windows, I actually had a class up there, and then you look and all you see is the ocean, so it was very distracting. I don't know how much I actually learned in the class. The right picture is actually the bus I took every day to campus or into the city center. And the nice thing is they paid for the bus pass, and the bus pass normally was like 150 pounds, and it was included in the scholarship, which is really nice. This left side is Dylan Thomas, which is usually, that's the famous son of Swansea. He was a writer and a poet. And that was just, actually, it was just graffiti randomly in the park. Someone had created that. And they have a wonderful museum there that I really enjoyed. And then the picture on the bottom is actually the view out of the first class I took. And it was looking down into the Abbey. Really pretty. That was one of the very few sunny days. It's a really nice picture. So, least I forget, I did have school. This wasn't just a vacation. So the first 2 weeks, I had a class before the actual semester started, and it is a pre-sessional course, and it is a jump start to Britain. You learn the culture, you learn the politics, you learn how Britain has changed after World War II. And the best part of it is it has field trips. About every 2-3 days we went somewhere. And this photo here is the class, and we visited the big pit in Wales. And Wales used to be a really big coal mining country, and this is one of the mines, and it was actually in operation for 100 years. I think it closed in like 89 or so. But it was fun, and we learned it. And they took us down into the cage, deep in the mines, so we had to wear helmets, and we were all very proud of our helmets. So what else did I study? I was fortunate, and I took 12 hours that transferred over. I had a full course load. I took a creative writing class, I took an investigative psychology class, which was based on policing politics, and it compared and contrasted American and British politics. And then I also took applied behavioral psychology, which was just a method of psychology. So the best part was my schedule. Half of the semester, I only had class Mondays and Tuesdays. That's it, no other responsibilities. And considering how much I normally do with part-time jobs and classes, I just went everywhere those 2 weeks. I loved it. And I explored Swansea a lot, but I did have class. But I really, really missed that schedule as I work every day. But what did I see while I was in the UK? Well, I saw all of the UK, or at least I tried to. I saw Southern Wales, Mid Wales, Northern Wales. I went to England, I went to Northern Ireland, Ireland, Scotland. And I also took a school trip to the Netherlands, and we went on a bus, actually. And the top photo is Amsterdam, looking out over the canals. The bottom picture is Mount Snowdon, which is the highest peak in Wales. And then the picture on the pier is the Mumbles Pier, which is actually a village right near Swansea. And I walked there, it was probably a 20-minute walk, really nice. So what were the highlights? Well, the ocean was 5 minutes away, and that was fantastic, because we are in a landlocked state. I went to Loch Ness, because I had always wanted to see Nessie. I did not find Nessie, but I found a lot of snow. This actually background picture is Loch Ness in the snow, which I really like. And I went to Stonehenge, because I also wanted to see something cool there. Stonehenge was not as big as I expected. I went everywhere. There's castles everywhere. I think Wales has the highest per capita of castles in the UK, which is kind of surprising. And I loved the ferry from Northern Ireland over to Dublin. It was like a cruise ship, and I had never been on a cruise ship, but this one was a ferry, so it was really fun. It was just a lot of fun. And the Christmas markets, because I went in the fall, because it's my favorite season, and I really wanted to go to the Christmas markets, because they don't quite have them here. I did go to a Game of Thrones tour in Northern Ireland. I don't watch it, but the people I went with were fanboying and fangirling the entire time, and I'm just like, this is a really nice forest. And they're like, this is where Robb Stark died or whatever. And I'm just like, those are nice trees. So my favorite experience of the entire trip, I ended up taking myself to a bed and breakfast in Aberystwyth, and that's in Middle Wales. And this is the first time I ever went alone, the first trip I went alone. I was just like, you know what, I want to see things, and I need to go, and no one else has the schedule that I have. And it's kind of embarrassing. I went to Aberystwyth because it's the setting of a crime drama that's in Wales that I found over the summer, and I just wanted to see it. And it is fantastic. So I went up. The top is the steam train that takes you to the Pontarlimanach waterfalls, and it means the Devil's Bridge because it's a special bridge that has 3 built on top of each other that go from the 11th century to like the 15th, and I think the last one's the 18th century, that are still together. But it's a seaside resort. There's waterfalls. The bottom is the ruins of the Aberystwyth Castle, and they have a World War II memorial there now. No. And see, what you can't tell from these pictures is this was actually the tail end of a hurricane. So I did something stupid, and I climbed a hill in the middle of a hurricane. So this picture looks very innocent, but that's because it was before I slid down that entire hill. And I spare you the pictures of the aftermath of that because I thought it was funny. So of course I had to take a picture, but I'll spare you the pictures. But it was stunning on top. It was worth climbing down that hill and sliding all the way down and walking myself covered in mud back to my bed and breakfast, hiding from the owner because I didn't want him to know it was really muddy. But it was really nice. And there was an Olympic torch from the 2000 Olympic Games, just randomly. There was no sign saying so. It was just hanging on the top. But it was really stunning. And Aberystwyth, it was the off season, so it was really nice and quiet. Beyond the storm, beyond the storm. But that was my favorite time. It was the first time I went by myself somewhere, and it proved that I could do it. And I took a 10-hour train ride there because Wales is a little funny, and you have to go from southern Wales into England over to Middle Wales to get into Middle Wales. That was really nice. I also learned after I took this trip that there was a 3-hour bus that was there that I did not know about. So I endured that train ride. But that's all. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Patricia?
What was it that you was able to learn in Wales by going over there that you couldn't learn in the States?
I learned a more worldly view than I can get in Oklahoma, to be honest.
More what?
More worldly view than I can get in Oklahoma. Yeah. I made friends from Germany. I made friends from India. I made friends from Ghana there. It's just something you can't quite get here all the time. I had a flat with Americans across the entire state, which sometimes you can get here, sometimes you can't. The people across the hall from me were from Germany. The people who lived above me were all from Spain. It was just a much different view, and it was in a city, and Alva isn't a city quite on the skies of Swansea.
Which of your two deals were you working on over there? You said you had two main.
I actually took classes from both, but I was predominantly in psychology, yeah. I managed to take one English course and 2 psychology courses. And then the introduction to Britain class ended up being a humanities that transferred over to Northwestern.
So you ended up with 12 credit hours back?
Yep, a full semester. So it actually worked out well. The previous girls who had gone had only gotten 9 hours. So the psychology department, for whatever reason, has like a block schedule, so I actually got really lucky with that.
I assume that our place was in English. You didn't have any communication problems, did you, any place?
It's funny, when I got dropped off at the bus station, I hailed a cab. I could not understand the cab driver at all.
Yeah, he was from India.
No, he was from Wales. He had such a thick accent, and the person that you want to understand and for them to understand you, because he had to actually take me to the university, he was just like, what? And I'm like, what? We went back and forth way too long. Yeah.
One time I ran into I was in the Bahamas years ago with a big gentleman, kind of a doorman at a hotel, and I asked a tourist question. I said, and I knew the Bahamas were a British colony. And
Yeah.
I said, so is English the predominant language here on the island? And he kind of looked down his nose and kind of scowled. Big guy, he said, we speak English, you speak American. You didn't speak English, you speak American.
Yeah, I did. And I did have a British person tell me that as well.
Was Wales have any kind of, you know, you get to Ireland, you know, you get an accent, you get to Scotland, you can't understand, how do you Jammies get down to Holland? Or what do you?
That's how the cab driver was, because he was from the valleys, which is the deep part of Wales.
Does
Yeah.
Wales kind of have that roll that? Like the
Some
Scots
of them,
do?
yeah, when you get to the north, like when I went to Snowdon, they had a very musical tilt to their voice. And then the cab driver is just like gruff, because he was in like the southern part of Wales. Then everyone else kind of had a pretty neutral accent.
Is it more Permian that they speak, or
Is it more what?
Permian, which is what they speak up in the fells,
It may be, I'm not positive.
which
because I
is a
wasn't
very
sure.
hard dialect to understand.
Yeah, I know when I went to Aberystwyth, there was that back and forth with the owner because he was just talking fast and he had such a musical tilt to it that.
The
I
speed
could
is what gets most.
not- Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
speed. I was almost tempted to be like, can you spell that out for me?
None of them speak Okie then.
No,
You didn't have your Okie English dictionary.
a little bit. I'm not too bad since I did grow up in California. The girl who I lived next to, though, occasionally she'd be very Southern Okie, and I'd be like, what? And you can imagine, like, all the Spanish girls would be like, what? What? Looking at all of us being like, is she talking English? Yeah. But it was a lot of fun.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
What date did you leave and what date did you come back?
I actually left September 11th, which was kind of a scary day to fly, especially the first time flying.
Yeah.
And I came back, I actually think came back September or December 11th. I want to say it was a full.
So it was
Even-
a full semester?
Yeah, it was a full semester, and everything was nice and paid for, which was good. Yes. Yeah.
Anything else?
Questions?
Yes.
How do people over there make a living?
Same as anyone else. They work for the university. They work for stores. They same as anywhere else.
Do they have mining or timbers or,
They don't have mining as much anymore now.
pardon?
They don't have mining as much anymore. They used to, which is why we visited the big pit, but they didn't as much anymore. I think they still maybe had an active one in the north where the mountains were. Yeah. But-
I like his question, he said agriculture, what kind of agriculture? do they
Yeah.
have over
I remember going through fields, but I honestly don't know what they were.
Sheep, cattle.
There were a lot of sheep. When we went to Snowdon, I was really sick, so I took a train up the way while everyone hiked Snowdon, and there were sheep everywhere. Like, we'd be on the train and be like, beep, 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 because all the sheep were jumping across the track.
Let's give Patricia a hand.